Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi, kids. Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew, who went to the prom this weekend.
I sure did.
Baby
my
prom.
third one. My third prom ever.
Oh, good job.
I've matched my wife, although all three of hers were in high school.
Okay, yeah. He went to a baby prom.
That's right.
I went to Topgolf, so I had fun.
I don't know which one was more fun, Randy.
I don't know. You had more fun. Coming up, we have another St. Louis hockey player making a name for himself in the NHL playoffs. It was a great weekend for the area basketball teams, and in the list, former Cardinals don't have red jackets that should. But first, it's time for your quick hits, and they're sponsored by St. Luke's. And a week after getting swept at home by the Mariners, losing 3 games by a total of 4 runs in that weekend, the Cardinals went on a winning streak of 6 games and took a weekend series from the Dodgers. There was a point on Saturday in which Jordan Walker had gone 6 for 6 in the series with 3 singles, 2 doubles, and a homer. He finished the series 6 of 11 with a homer, 2 doubles, a walk, 4 RBIs, and 4 runs scored, and did hit a long fly ball to the wall in yesterday's game that everybody thought was going to be a home run. It's getting to the point where you kind of have to believe in Walker.
He is truly doing the remarkable, the unbelievable. If you just look at his progression from 2 years ago to what it is now, it has a lot of people sitting back saying, I'm almost nervous to say he's turning the corner, because is it too early to put that on him just 20% of the way into the season? But he is just showing night in and night out that he can deliver. He's not swinging at pitches that aren't in his zone. He's disciplined at the dish. He's great out in right field. You can just start seeing the strides. And I guess, we should say this. Maybe we shouldn't write off young outfielders, Randy, that are 24 years old.
Here's the thing. We were spoiled by Albert Pujols, who was awesome when he came up, and we were spoiled by making so many trades for people like Mark McGwire and Jim Edmonds, Scott Rowland, Larry Walker. We had microwave. We had instant success. And now we have a guy where it has to marinate a little bit, where he has to bake, and we don't want to deal with that. We don't want to deal with being patient, and that's what it's going to take with this whole team, not just Jordan Walker, but everybody is young, and everybody is going to have to have some patience and some grace at some point.
Imagine the Cardinals traded him and you see this type of production for, say, like the Brewers this year. And not to say that they would trade him to a division rival, but just say you had to watch him tear it up for another team. That would sting.
Yeah, it would. And you got to be careful. Some guys don't wind up being good, but you don't want another Randy Arozarena either. The Blues signed forward Dylan Holloway to a 5-year deal worth $38.75 million over the weekend. That's a bargain. Holloway had 27 goals in his first year with the Blues and then 22 in 59 games this past season. He was injured for a lot of it. To revisit an old stat, though, when Holloway played, the Blues were 29, 20, and 10, a points percentage of .576, which was good for the top spot in the West, in the Western wildcard race, ahead of Utah's .561. When Holloway didn't play, the Blues were 8, 13, and 2. That was a .391 winning percentage. That was higher than only Vancouver in the entire league. With Holloway, number 1 wildcard team. Without Holloway, second worst in the league.
Yeah, not shocked. This is a guy that can do that right there. 51 points in 59 games. He was battling injury this year and still almost had a point a game. And you just look at his statistics with the St. Louis Blues, and you're going to find a lot of production. I saw a hockey writer up in Edmonton, missing out on Holloway, sending Holloway away, not matching his offer sheet. Might be a top 10 blunder, might be a top 5 blunder all time by the Edmonton Oilers. And I tend to agree. You just look at what he's been able to do. And Podkolfsson, I believe, is who they got from Vancouver, is a good slot-in replacement for a Holloway loss. But he's not Dylan Holloway. He's not producing like Dylan Holloway. And so the Blues really sniped one away from Edmonton.
And when you look at the great moves that Doug Armstrong made in his illustrious career, getting O'Reilly, getting Schenn, signing Perron back, drafting Vladimir Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz, it's probably a top 5 move for Doug Armstrong in his Blues history, too.
I would have to think so. This is a guy that, is riding off into the sunset saying, this is my last big move.
And by the way, package deal. It's because it's Holloway and Broberg, who's now a number 1 defenseman in the league, too.
Yeah, yikes.
And under contract long term.
Yikes for Edmonton.
Yeah. SLU had an amazing weekend, securing commitments from local products Sheik Pearson, who went to Burroughs, then Marquette as a redshirt for a year, never played for Marquette, and comes back to St. Louis and comes to SLU. And they also got Penn State commit Jamo White, Jahidi White's son, who decommitted from Penn State to come home to SLU to play his freshman year. The Billikens should be great again in 26-27. Josh Schertz really has it going in terms of recruiting. Mizzou also brought a local player home, getting Vashon's Kennard Davis to transfer from BYU.
I think both programs really rounded out well. Mizzou, I'll start with this. You've wanted them to get that guard. They needed a guard. Well, here you go. They got the guard to kind of fill the gap of your losses. And then you look at SLU, and you bring in a guy like Jamo. And this is a guy that has a really good resume, even just from high school. You know, he starts at Chaminade, he ends at East St. Louis, he plays for the Brad Beal Elite. He is a part of 3 really good programs. He was a district player of the year at Chaminade. I remember that all too well. And then he wins a state championship with East St. Louis. So this is a really good, dominant player that knows how to win, and he also knows where to go to win.
And obviously has the bloodlines because his dad was one of the great players in the area. And one of the things that I think you have to do at St. Louis University is obviously you have to win, but winning with local players makes it even better. So if Josh Schertz can do what he did last year, but do it with these 2 St. Louisans plus the St. Louisan that you already have on the roster, you're doing pretty well.
Well, and I'll add this too. What I love about the guard that comes over from BYU to Mizzou, he starts at SIU, averages 16 points per game. That makes me excited for a kid like Luke Walsh, another local product that starts his career at SIU. He's going to start getting more playing time now, and then the direction he can go. So just what you can do as a young player here in the state of Missouri, that you don't have to go to the biggest school right away. You can still end up at your dream program. You just got to put in the work.
Congratulations to the Billikens, to both Sheik Pearson and Jamo White, and of course to Kennard Davis and Mizzou. Baseball again, as seen here on Matrix Midwest on Saturday. The Cardinal farm system keeps rolling. Quinn Matthews went 5 innings of 1-run ball, allowing 1 run on 2 hits and striking out 7. Jimmy Crooks hit his 9th home run. Josh Baez hit his 7th in a 13-4 rout of Indianapolis. Baez also doubled, and Memphis was 7-14 with runners in scoring position in that game. Then yesterday, although the Redbirds lost, Crooks hit his 10th homer. Nelson Velasquez hit his 3rd, and Blaze Jordan, playing 3rd base at Memphis, hit his 7th in a 9-5 loss to Indy. But good things are happening down in Memphis.
Yeah, great things. And the only bad thing for those kids down in Memphis is they might have to wait a little bit longer given the results of the big league club right now. It's not like any of these guys are going to jump up and take somebody's roster spot. Everything's working right now with the St. Louis Cardinals. But in order to kind of stay in the back of the right people's minds, you have to produce like we're seeing right now. And that's a good thing, because when you look at a guy like Quinn Matthews, he's battled the injuries, but he is on the brink of getting his spot, whether that's a long reliever role, whether that's a spot in the starting rotation. And then even like a guy like Jimmy Crooks, at some point in time, a player's going to get injured, and you have to step up and be that next player.
And the nice thing for the Cardinals is that Matthews is walking too many guys. He's got to fix that in the minors. Crooks is striking out too much. So is Baez. They get a chance to fix that in the minors. A guy like Blaze Jordan has to work on his defense at 3rd. He can fix that in the minors. He's not coming up too fast and having to fix those things at the major league level.
That's a great point, because you can celebrate all of the good that we're talking about, the offense, the good strikeouts that you see from Matthews, but you never really paid close enough attention to the things that need to be worked on because you fall in love with the good.
The first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs was wild. All 4 divisional 2 seeds were knocked out. Dallas and Edmonton in the West, Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay in the East. Meanwhile, all 4 wild card teams lost their series, with 2 getting swept. Between them, the wild cards won 4 games in 4 series. We should note that the winning goalie for Montreal last night was Jakub Dobes. He came to St. Louis from the Czech Republic when he was 16 and lived with former Blue Lubos Bartechko. Dobes went to De Smet, played for the Junior Blues and the AAA Blues. He was a huge Jordan Binnington fan and said that last night on the postgame show on TNT. A 5th rounder of the Canadiens a few years ago, and he looks like he's going to be the goalie going forward for Montreal in the 2nd round of the playoffs. A guy who says that he grew up in St. Louis, so he's another guy to root for in hockey.
And this is somebody that really performed well in that Game 7. 29 shots on goal by Tampa Bay. He had to stop 28 of those, and then you look at 9 shots for the Montreal Canadiens, which was the lowest amount of shots for a team that ended up winning in a playoff game, and 2-1 was that final score. This is the youngest team in hockey, Montreal, and they look like a veteran team based on how they play, but they just have a lot of skill out there on the ice, and knocking off Tampa in their home arena is a hard thing to do, but good on the Canadians and good on Dobas.
And by the way, a wild game one of the second round between Minnesota and Colorado. You didn't stay up 9-6, and it was a really competitive game. 9-6, Colorado wins it over Minnesota with a couple of late empty netters.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster. It was 3-0 Avalanche early on, then all of a sudden it was 5-4 Minnesota, and then 4 third period goals for the Avalanche, and it seemed like a blowout.
It was wild, but a lot of fun. The Stanley Cup playoffs are great. Those are your quick hits, sponsored by St. Luke's. Top-notch doctors in everything from heart health to orthopedics and more. Visit stluke's-stl.com today. Later in the show, we're going to have a little risky business. We're going to come up with a fight for you. But next up, we've got our weekend highlights here in the fight. How about that? It's time for our weekend highlights. We do these every Monday morning, and St. Louis City SC was shut out by Austin 2-0 on Sunday. Roman Berkey kept the squad in it by making some stellar first-half saves, but disorganization from the start was City's demise in this one again. Edward Leuven made his first start of 2026. That was a great thing to see, but the disorganization at this point in the season of this team is something that bothers me. I'm not a soccer guy like you are, but it seems like once you get to this point with the new coach, you should have a pretty good idea of what the game plan is, and there should be a higher level of organization.
Yeah, and the reason disorganization's a good word for it is you can have good within disorganization, but you also get a lot of bad with it. And so City in this case started the match, and it looked like they had a little bit of fire, but then all of a sudden the first 4 minutes of the game, Austin gets 2 really good looks, and without Roman Berkey in the back, at your back line, you're probably trailing in this game 2-0. He made an incredible diving, sliding save early on. And then as the game kind of progressed, it was like, okay, well, Marcel Hartl takes the first corner. Leuven's normally that guy on set pieces. And then he takes that next corner, near post to Betcher, almost gets a goal off of it. And you're like, wow, that's the impact Leuven can make. But the big thing that I look at, Randy, is in the second half, Hartl has a breakaway, a blunder by Austin. Hartl goes on a breakaway, Betcher off to his left, and all he needs to do is just touch the ball a little bit earlier, maybe with a little less steam, and then City goes up 1-0. It was an easy goal for City, and the game would totally switch. You wouldn't lose this game 2-0. You'd probably win this game 1-0 if that's the case. But you touch it too far, and then all of a sudden it's like, that might be the biggest miss of the season.
And if you have a superstar, they convert that, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If you have, and I look at Hartl as a star on this team. He's somebody that is good at making the play. He's better at taking the shot. So in that case, I almost would have rather seen him just take his look from on top of the 18, one-on-one with the goalie versus trying to thread one to Betcher. But you have to get rid of that ball earlier. It's so easy in soccer to go 1-2 on a play like that when it's 2 versus the keeper. I just can't get over the fact that play right there will go down as City's worst miss all season.
Wow. To the surprise of no one, Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina were announced as the 2026 inductees to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. They'll be inducted inside Busch Stadium on September 12th. Of course, Ballpark Village has held the induction ceremony for the last few years. Due to anticipated demand for the event, tickets are available starting at $20 if you'd like to see Yadi and Albert be inducted into the Cardinal Hall of Fame on September 12th. 2 absolute icons in St. Louis Cardinals history. And no surprise that they went in, but they kind of cap the Red Jackets. It's not going to get any better in my lifetime than Albert Pujols.
I'm right there with you. And you're right. Yadi deserves his colors too because of what he was able to do, not only just defensively for this team, but he was a great game manager for that pitching staff. He also delivered offensively when you needed him to. Both of these
he was
guys
here for his whole career.
Right, and that's the other thing too. When you're a lifer, it makes it's bonus points for you to end up with the red jacket on. The worst kept secret, though, is, can we call it that? Pujols and Yachty, going on that wall. We all knew it was going to happen.
We knew that was going to happen, yeah. So congratulations to those two and the Cardinals, and again, September 12th at the ballpark, the induction ceremony for those two. The Kentucky Derby was one of the most exciting in history, and 23-to-1 shot Golden Tempo went from worst to first and rallied to win the Derby at Churchill Downs. Renegade, who was the favorite until race day, finished in second place, and you really had a great story here with Golden Tempo and the first female trainer to win a Kentucky Derby, but then being in last place and rallying to win it.
Well, the Derby is my favorite event of the year because the coolest stories come out with the Derby. You don't ever get lead up to the Kentucky Derby. You hear about everything on race day.
Right.
There's nothing that you read ahead of time that will tell you the coolest stories.
I love this shot, by the way. This is fantastic.
It's the drone shot of the Derby is
amazing.
You're right. And watching Golden Tempo kind of thread through traffic here. I was in on So Happy. I guess there is one story that made headline. So the horse So Happy, I'll just kind of sum it up briefly. The trainer never thought the horse was going to be any good. So he named it So Happy out of spite. And then the wife of said trainer always believed in the horse. Well, the wife unfortunately passed away about a month ago. And then the horse qualified for the Derby 2 weeks later. So, you kind of invest yourself in a story like that. That's the perfect story for the Kentucky Derby. And So Happy was having a great run all the way until that final quarter mile. And then that's kind of what happens with horses. If you come out with a lot of speed, they're going to slow up at that mile mark. And you have to know when to kind of kick it into gear. And that's why being in last place like Golden Tempo, you can end up winning that whole thing because your horse has a lot of stamina left.
And by the way, something like 24 million viewers for the Kentucky Derby, so still extremely popular.
Best event. Oh, man, the fastest 2 minutes in sports. It's so fun.
At the Cadillac Championship in Miami, Cameron Young didn't just win. He controlled the week with a wire-to-wire victory, and even when he created his own adversity by calling a penalty shot on himself after his ball moved in the fairway. He never flinched, still ended up cruising to a 6-shot win over world number 1 Scotty Scheffler. Young called a violation on himself with his ball in the middle of the fairway on the second hole, said he didn't hesitate to do the right thing, and of course he had a 5-shot lead. And that line of thinking basically sums up the entire week. Disciplined enough to police himself and locked in enough to turn a stacked leaderboard into a runaway finish. I find it interesting that he did that because you know what happens now in golf? If you don't call it on yourself, somebody watching on TV is going to call the rules tent and say, hey, his ball moved. And so they're going to come back and it's going to be called on you anyway. So with the proliferation of TV and the shots that they have, especially for the guy in the lead, if it moves just a smidgen, you have to call it on yourself.
Which is so funny because I was watching it live and they zoomed in on the ball and you couldn't see it move. You just could not. Only Cam Young knew that golf ball move. Not even Scotty Scheffler, who was probably 10 paces to his right, saw that golf ball move. But what was amazing is, and yes, he had the 5-shot lead, so it's easier to feel comfortable in that moment, even on hole 2. But what's amazing is he put his next shot 6 feet from the hole, and then parred the hole. That's how I knew Cam Young was winning this entire thing because he did not fret. It did not go away. He was locked in from that moment, and it was just okay, well, I might as well just write off my Scotty Scheffler first place finish bet.
By the way, my rule of thumb on movement is a club length. So
all of a sudden you just kick it out the judge in Caddyshack.
Right, yeah. And if the ball moves in the fairway, if you're in the fairway, you're in the fairway. Come on.
I don't understand either what they were talking about because they said he likes his shots fluffed up. And I'm okay, I didn't think you could move your ball.
No, you aren't supposed to.
So I didn't really understand what they were talking about, the ruling there, that he was one of the few golfers that likes a more fluffed up lie. I'm I like a fluffed up lie.
Me too. By the way, Scotty Scheffler, as we mentioned, finishing second for the 3rd tournament in a row. And he does get off to these rugged starts, and he's always awesome on Sunday. But I wonder if Scotty Scheffler, as great as he's been, I mean, if you finish second every time, you're going to be the world #1 golfer. But I wonder if he is upset or bothered or concerned about the fact that he hasn't been in the winner's circle in such a long time.
I don't know. He's getting like $1.2 million for getting.
Yeah, but I don't think it's
place.
about money for him.
I'm sure it's not.
I'm
sure it's not.
He talked last year a lot about how he just loves to compete.
Right.
And when you love to compete, you love to win. So I just wonder if he's, if there is a level of concern, or maybe he's just gearing up for the majors now. I don't know. He seems like the kind of guy to me that if he's in a tournament, he's playing to win.
I wonder if he's going to end up as the golfer with the most first place finishes this year and second place finishes.
It could be.
This year.
He could wind up being Jack Nicklaus. Yeah.
Something about his game right now seems to play into that category.
Yeah. He's got it figured out, just not on Thursday and Friday. The Saudi private investment fund announced that they won't finance LIV Golf after this year. LIV is looking for investors, but a league that's lost $5 billion in 3 years and spends about $100 million a month apparently isn't drawing a lot of interest from potential investors. And we wondered about LIV from the start, and we wondered what would happen when the Saudis got bored spending all of that money on something that wasn't going to make money for them. Not that they care about it. That private investment fund is a fund of $900 billion, but they clearly got bored. And now a lot of these golfers that went to LIV with the hopes and dreams of their lives being changed are going to be out in the cold. Now, people like DeChambeau and Rahm, they have enough money, but there's a lot of young golfers on the LIV Tour that are not going to have LIV to live off of anymore, and they also aren't going to be able to be on the PGA Tour. They're kind of stuck in their careers.
Yeah, and there's not going to be another wacko that wants to put up all that money into a failing venture.
Nobody else has that kind of money.
Right, and so the example's in front of you. If you look at what the Saudis did with all the money they had, and they lost so much money by just throwing money, they were just burning money. Why would anybody else that had a good amount of money want to put their investment into a failing venture? It's not a smart move by any means, and you're right, the LIV will eventually fold. They could kind of trim down and make the purses smaller, go with less competitions, and they could last maybe a little bit longer, just holding out hope to see how long they could go. But at some point in time, there's going to be no money left to give out.
Right, and they don't have a real TV contract. The thing with Fox is that I think they paid the production costs, but Fox isn't paying any rights fees for LIV Golf, so there really isn't, even though they say there's money coming in, there isn't substantial enough money coming in to be able to pay the freight for people like DeChambeau and Rahm and the rest of the guys.
And those guys
can
come back to the tour still, right? DeChambeau,
they'll have to wait a year.
They can still come back, but you mentioned like the guys that are kind of fringe tour golfers.
Yeah, have no chance.
Like they just don't have a spot. Even on DP, I don't know if they have a spot.
It's going to be tough. That is your weekend highlights here in the fight. Coming up in the list, who's not in the Cardinal Hall of Fame that should be? That's coming your way in the fight. We mentioned in our last segment that both Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols are headed to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. And that got us to thinking, who are some of the guys that aren't in the Cardinals Hall of Fame but deserve to be? Now, you have to have 3 years with the Cardinals and 3 years retired. And I'm going to start with my number 3, Andrew, and it's Gary Templeton. He didn't have a great departure from St. Louis, but when he was here, he was something. In 6 years as a Cardinal, he hit .305 with a .743 OPS. He stole 138 bases. And for 3 straight years, 77, 78, and 79, Gary Templeton led the National League in triples. Also in 1979, Tempe became the first player in baseball history to get 100 hits from each side of the plate. He was a 2-time All-Star with the Cardinals and won a Silver Slugger in 1980. And the late, great Bob Bragg, Post-Dispatch columnist, called him the most talented Cardinal that he had ever seen. And Bob Bragg watched Rogers Hornsby and Stan Musial play. Gary Templeton is my number 3 that should have a red jacket that doesn't.
Man, all-star hair, too.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that flow. Also, it's weird seeing somebody else wearing number 1.
Yeah.
Like that was hard for me to get over when I saw him stealing second base there. But yeah, no, everything that you said is worthy of making it into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. And consistency, I think, is the big thing there with Templeton. Is if you're able to hit over 300 for 3 straight years and kind of give the same, you can deliver the same stat line over and over and over again. Like that's what kind of that's really a brand of St. Louis Cardinals baseball. That's the Cardinal way.
And I hope that what happened with him in 1981 is water under the bridge, and I would hope that as an organization, the Cardinals would welcome somebody back who was such a great player for them. And by the way, got him Ozzie Smith.
That is true. Who wore number 1. That's the number 1 I like seeing wearing that jersey. Okay, my number 3, and I think people tend to forget Trevor Rosenthal had back-to-back seasons of 45 and 48 saves before encountering arm trouble. So in 2015, he was elected to the All-Star game, finished the season with a 2.10 ERA, and he had 68 and 2/3 innings. And those numbers could make him top 5 in franchise history as a closer, at the very least an honorable mention for that list. But he's also born and raised in Missouri. That comes into play with a lot of things I think of with the red jacket. And it would just be so fitting to see him put it on. If you're still not convinced, well, just remember, 31.6% of the batters he faced in a Cardinals uniform struck out.
Ooh.
And the Nationals paid him top market price whenever they got him as their closer in 2017. And 2017 wasn't a very good year for Trevor Rosenthal. So if they're still paying $7 million, you don't take chances like that. If you're not sold, he can still do what he did, say, in 2014 and 15. So yes, Trevor Rosenthal, to me, deserves to put it on.
Yeah, when you look at the body of work and what he was able to accomplish as the Cardinal closer, and he was the closer for a World Series team, absolutely worthy. And boy, wouldn't they love to have one guy that struck out 31% of the batters that he faced?
It's crazy. That stat, when I read that, I said, there's no way. There's no way. But when you think back about it, he did strike out a ton of hitters when he came in the 9th inning.
And by the way, Rosie, a great champion of St. Louis, lived here in De Pere for a long time. They moved last year because his daughter's involved with gymnastics, so they moved to Houston. But he loves St. Louis, and that's another part of it. All right, my number 2, after Bruce Sutter and before Lee Smith, the Cardinal closer was Todd Worrell, who held the all-time save record for the team with 129 until Smith and then Jason Isringhausen came along. Worrell is still 3rd all-time on the Cardinals save list. He came up in late August of 1985 and immediately became the Cardinal closer, giving the National League champs 11 innings in 7 postseason games. In 1986, Worrell set the National League rookie save record with 36. That's still 2nd all-time in National League history, 36 saves as a rookie. He was Rookie of the Year. Todd would go on to have seasons of 33, 32, and 20 saves before getting injured in 1989. Now, Whitey Herzog said that if Worrell hadn't gotten hurt in September of '89, the Cardinals would have won the National League Central. Indeed, actually the National League East at that time. Indeed, when Worrell went down, the Cardinals had won 15 of 21 games and had drawn within a game and a half of the Cubs. After Worrell's injury, they go from 15-6 to 11-15 in their last 26 games, and they finished 1989 7 games back. Worrell was a key part of winning teams in St. Louis, and again, body of work, 129 saves, worthy of a red jacket.
I'm still shocked that he's not a Cardinal Hall of Famer.
Me too.
Not just based on everything that you just said there, but everything I know and learned about Todd Worrell. So funny story. When the Cardinals, this was a few years ago, they had like a mystery jersey giveaway night where you show up, they just give you a random jersey. The one I open up is Todd Worrell, and this was when I really didn't have like a large knowing of player history in the organization, so I had to look up who Todd Worrell was because I was a little disappointed that he was on the back of my jersey. But when I found out more about him, I'm like, okay, I just got done saying how Trevor Rosenthal might be top 5 in franchise history as a closer or an honorable mention. Todd Worrell's, what, top 3? Top 3 in this organization?
Yep.
So that right there, if I think Rosie should get a red jacket, Worrell should too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's and another great champion of St. Louis who has spent his life here.
My number 2, Randy, Tom Pagnozzi was a lifer. And that's really enough for me, knowing who he was for this franchise too. He was an elite defensive catcher who anchored the position for most of the 90s and earned 3 Gold Gloves along with an All-Star selection in 92. Funny enough, he became the everyday starter in 1990 after impressing manager Joe Torre enough to shift Todd Zeal to third base, who was a hot prospect for the organization at the time. While his offense was only modest, it was the defense that ranked consistently among franchise leaders. The key catching defensive categories I want to focus on: games caught, innings, putouts, stolen bases allowed, caught stealing, and fielding percentage. Parlay all of that with his ability to be just a key stabilizing presence on competitive Cards teams. That right there is worthy of the red jacket.
And never did wear another team's jersey. And as you mentioned, it could have been a victim of circumstances in the early 90s with bad teams and teams that went on strike, but was a division champion in 96 and was a game away from going to the World Series as a catcher. I'm with you. He's a guy that's absolutely worthy of a red jacket. All right, my number one, and he was on the ballot this year. The Cardinals would not have won the 1982 World Series if they didn't have George Hendrick. Silent George was on the ballot this year for good reason. In his first full year with the Cardinals, Hendrick was second on the team in home runs. Then from 1980 to 83, 80, 81, 82, 83, 4 straight years, he led the team in homers and RBIs each year. That included a 1981 team that had the best record in its division in a split season because of the strike, and a 1982 team that won it all, and a 1983 team that was a half game out on September 5th before the pitching collapsed. Hendrick wasn't just a great hitter. He made a game-saving throw from right field in Game 7 of the 1982 World Series, and that was just an example of his defensive acumen. George was also a revered leader on those early 80s teams. He should get in soon. He deserves to be. The Cardinals, as I said, don't win the 1982 World Series without George Hendrick.
Yeah, everything that you just said there, I mean, there's no reason for him not to be. The fact that you think he should get in soon, too, is enough for me to know that it's going to happen, say, in the next handful of years.
Yeah, Adam Wainwright next year. And then after that, I think you're looking at Hendrick and maybe Matt Carpenter. It'll be interesting to see, but George should get in.
Well, what about a guy like Darryl Porter, Randy? You know, that's who my number one is here. And I never got to watch him, obviously, but boy, if the things I read are true, there's no reason not to make him Cardinals Hall of Famer. In just 5 seasons with the Birds, he played in 2 World Series, winning both the 82 NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP. Whitey Herzog, he called him a champion player for his clutch ability and handling on a pitching staff. He also caught Forsh's no-hitter in 1983. So a lot of big moments in such a short time. Who knows if any are possible without him. Another Missouri kid who had success in a Cardinals uniform. And again, bonus points there. But Porter, with just such a small window, but a lot going on, a lot to add to the accolade sheet, that is enough for me.
Yeah, and Darryl was one of those guys, kind of like Mark Bulger as the quarterback of the Rams. The guy he followed was Ted Simmons, a Hall of Famer.
That's true.
And it's hard to be the guy that follows the guy. And so Porter ran into that. But like you say, nobody can take away the fact that he caught a couple of World Series for the Cardinals and was the NLCS and the World Series MVP. Obviously, tragically, passed away too soon. But I would like to see that guy in the Cardinal Hall of Fame. I'm with you right there.
Well, and being the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP doesn't happen all too often. I think Willie Stargell was the only person before him that was ever the NLCS MVP and World Series MVP. I don't even know. Has there been
David Freese?
Okay, so yeah, David Freese. So then more recently, I guess it's coming to fruition. But before that, he's one of the first to become something. There's just a lot there that has me saying, yeah, put this color on.
Absolutely. That is your list here in The Fight. And next up, we've got a little risky business. All you need to do is join us, and hopefully we'll come up with a winner for you here in The Fight. Hey, I want you to know about my friends in the orthopedics department over at St. Luke's. Don't get sidelined by bone or injury problems. If you have pain in your knees or your hips, maybe you are looking, if you're at my age, at a future with replacements. And at St. Luke's, they're dedicated to helping you return to a pain-free life where they do the best job of anybody in town with replacements. St. Luke's orthopedic surgeons and nurses and operating teams bring together expertise, advanced technology, treatment options, and personalized care to help you live the healthiest life possible. Their advanced orthopedic care ensures you have access to in- and outpatient rehab and home and short-term rehab as well. And with spring being here, we're itching to hit the links, the pickleball court, the running trails. If pain is keeping you from enjoying your favorite sport or activity, St. Luke's wants to get you back in the game, and their sports medicine physicians treat athletes of all levels, weekend warriors to professional athletes. And if it's time to replace those knees, hips, or joints, St. Luke's will offer advanced orthopedic treatment and surgical options. Call St. Luke's right there, 314-205-6737. That's 314-205-6737, or find them on the web at stlukes-stl.com. All right, let's build a parlay. And for us, this is risky business, but I've got one for you. With the Cardinals taking on the Brewers tonight, Kyle Leahy is the Cardinals starter. You know, he's got that great repertoire. He's got the slider, and he's got the changeup, and he's got the curve. He's got a couple of different fastballs. He's got a lot of pitches. And so with the Brewers coming to town, the number that hit me was 6 strikeouts. And that's, by the way, in the last few moments gone from plus 374 to plus 380. So I'm going to put.
Love that.
There you go. 6+ strikeouts for Kyle Leahy. I mean, literally, in the time that we came back from the commercial, went from 374 to 380.
Well, and I also want to add that you went over 2 spots because it was preloaded at 4+ for Kyle Leahy, and Randy's like, nope, we're going up 2 spots to 6+. So keep that in mind. That's why the odds are as juicy as you can see. Okay.
Pretty cool.
Mine for you. I'm going to go into the Red Sox Tigers here. So
he loves the Red Sox.
Yeah, huge fan, big time. 2013, 2004, that's enough for me to say I don't like the Red Sox.
Okay, good.
All right, Derek Skubal. Best pitcher, one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yep, absolutely.
You can maybe make the case for best pitcher in baseball.
Ohtani. But Skubal's right there.
Skeens, right?
Yep.
All right, so Skubal. He gets a lot of strikeouts. The Red Sox, not a very good offensive team right now. They're also in their own fields. They can't figure it out. I'm going to go with the number they're giving me at 8+. You could go down to 7 if you want to feel more comfortable, but that's too far of a reach there with how much the odds shift.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
just take the positive odds here with Skubal, because when he's on, he's really on. You could probably even go all the way up to 10+ if you think he's going to have a great game. And he can. I've seen him do 10, 11, no problem before. But I'm going to stick safe and play it at 8.
I like this a lot. We're going to be rooting for a lot of strikeouts tonight. So let's see what we got here. My plus 380 and your plus, and we've got plus 922. And that means our payout is $1,022.40. And all you have to do is put it down and say, thank you, and we'll say, you're welcome.
We love commas on the show.
That's risky business, and we hope you enjoyed us building a parlay. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It, plus story time with Uncle Randy and Today in Sports History here in The Fight. Time now for Take It or Leave It. And Andrew, NBC announced yesterday the preliminary numbers for the 152nd Kentucky Derby. They averaged 19.4 million viewers, peaking at 24.4 million viewers. Take it or leave it. With no marketing, horse racing is missing a great opportunity to be a more popular sporting event year-round.
Year-round.
Yep.
I don't know if people are that interested in horse racing. Like, I think they are for that
just
one
in
event.
The Derby?
I just don't know if they. I'm going to leave it for that reason. But I understand your line of thinking, because there is money to be made if you can have. Maybe we look at this from the golf approach.
No marketing. There's zero marketing.
Maybe we look at it from the golf approach, though. The Masters is the Kentucky Derby, and there's other majors. So maybe if you had like 1 or 2 more horse racing majors, then I could take it.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, look at the other 2 horses, the other 2 races, right? The Preakness and the Belmont.
Right.
They don't get that sort of viewership, but
Well,
they need to market
absolutely
them.
not. Yeah, I guess that is their. Well, unless there's a Triple Crown horse running, they don't really draw the viewership. But if they did have a Triple Crown horse running, they would. But maybe you take those as the other majors and build it up.
There you go.
I'd be for that. I love horse racing. I just don't know if it will actually happen.
I don't think it will.
All right, mine is this. So last week, we heard a number of players weren't happy with Alex Cora's firing in Boston. When Wilson Contreras was asked about it, though, he said, the guys got loose a little more because I feel like the tension was gone. Now, this was pulled from a loaded quote, but that was what he did say, and then he went on to ramble about the team not performing. But take it or leave it. the team should get stressed again, Randy, because they still can't win without Alex Cora.
Yeah. And you know what? It's also hard to win without Alex Bregman, whom they lost. Yeah. They made some big mistakes during the offseason. The guy that should be feeling a little tension is Craig Breslow.
I was going to say the guy up top.
Yeah.
Yep.
No
Who's
doubt
sitting
about
up
it.
there all high and mighty right now thinking, oh, we're fine. We just went 3-4 since Alex Cora's firing. We'll come back. Hey, you guys have 12 wins.
Just not a very good team. All right, that was Teoli. Now it's time for Story Time with Uncle Randy. We're going to spin the wheel for a decade. We're going to get a sport, and we're going to come up with a little story for you here on The Fight. And we're going to start with the decade of the 1980s. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to come up with a sport for you. So this will be fun. I'll remember something from the 80s, won't I? I hope so. Me too.
Because I don't remember anything from
1980s baseball. Woo. Okay.
You've told a few stories already today from 80s.
I did. I was thinking about going back there. You know what I'll do? I will go back to that 1989 season. You know, the Cardinals had Pedro Guerrero down the stretch in 1989. They go into Chicago in September, and Guerrero hits a home run on Friday, and Cardinals are thinking, okay, we got things going. But that was the weekend. It was Labor Day weekend, September of 1989. Both Todd Worrell and Willie McGee got hurt. The Cardinals were a game and a half out of first. They could have easily won that division if they have those two players, but they didn't have their closer and they didn't have their center fielder and arguably their best hitter at that point. Well, Guerrero was their best hitter, but their best all-around player was Willie McGee. They lose those two, and the Cubs wind up going to the playoffs and lose to the Giants, and the Giants went to the World Series. That was the Earthquake World Series, in which they were swept by Tony La Russa's Oakland A's. But that Cardinal team, if they have McGee and Worrell, they were good enough to beat the Giants and go to the World Series. Unfortunately, they lost their guys, and that was really the end of Todd Worrell's career here, too. When he got hurt, he missed the entire 1990 season, came back in 91 as a setup guy for Lee Smith, and then in 92 wound up signing with the Dodgers. So that was a big weekend, Labor Day weekend of 1989, when Todd Worrell got hurt, and Willie McGee did, too.
Oh, man. That's a bummer.
It was, yeah.
I was hoping for a little bit more of a promising story, that one just kind of tore me down.
And if you really want to, if you want to look at a period of time in which Whitey ball came to an end, that was also down the stretch that year, August or September, where Gussie Busch died. And when Gussie died, August Busch the fourth, or August Busch the third, not a huge baseball fan. So the club, the brewery kind of lost interest in the team. And then in 1990, you've got Ken Daly, Terry Pendleton, Vince Coleman, a group of players, Willie, that were going to become free agents, and the Cardinals weren't going to sign any of them. And that's why Whitey decided to retire, never managed a game after 1990. And everything kind of started to crumble down that stretch in the second half of the 1989 season.
You just gave me a case of the Monday morning blues.
Sorry about that.
I will say, though, at least I need to now skip ahead to 1997 and then just think about all the good memories that happened after
with
that.
Big Mac. 96, they won the division. 97, you get Big Mac, right? 98, you have 70 home runs, and then he fills the seats. You have enough money to build the team for 2000 and beyond. So there you go.
How about that? Good story.
That's story time with Uncle Randy from the 80s.
A fine story.
Yeah.
It happened.
Okay. How about this date in 1954? Really, this was not the anniversary today. It was over the weekend. But in 1954, in this past weekend, Stan Musial hit 5 home runs in a doubleheader against the New York Giants. The Cardinals won the first game 10-6, but lost the second game 9-7. And as a strange twist, one of the fans in attendance at Sportsman's Park, a young boy named Nate Colbert. In 1966, Colbert would make his major league debut, and 6 years later would tie Musial's record by hitting 5 home runs in a doubleheader himself. So Stan Musial and Nate Colbert both in the park in 1954 when Stan the Man hit the 5 home runs. It was a Sunday afternoon, and a young broadcaster by the name of Jack Buck said, I wonder if this happens every Sunday.
I'm going to guess no.
Yeah, Stan the Man was pretty good.
Yeah, best player in Cardinals history for sure.
Yeah. And then obviously later on, if you aren't aware of it, we had it either on Storytime or on the show, Mark hard-hitting Mark Whitten in 1993 hit 4 in a doubleheader.
Which is so
4 in one game, but 4 in a doubleheader against the Reds.
Man, 4 home runs itself is nuts. Thinking that it goes to 5 is crazy. I remember when Scooter Jeanette did that against the Cardinals too,
right.
and I'm like, this is crazy. This is a home run derby for these for these players. I would love to know the statistics on how often that happens. Out of all the baseball games, give me the percentage of how often somebody's hit 4 or more home runs in the same day.
Has not happened very often. Bob Horner did it for the Braves, the former Cardinal. Might have done it in his rookie year for Atlanta. Mike Cameron, I think, hit 4 in a game for Seattle.
When you're hot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and think about how hot Jordan Walker is right now with 10 home runs. And think about hitting 4 in a game. He's got 10 in a month, and these people are hitting 4 in a game. Right? And we're talking about how hot he is.
Yeah.
And those people are
And this is before
hot.
juice baseballs.
That's right, and juice players.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, plenty of juice players in that mix.
And Big Mac did hit a lot of 3 home run games during his time here in St. Louis.
Let's bring that all back. We have the juice baseballs. Let's bring back juice players. Hitting a lot of home runs like that, Randy, is a good thing.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of fans excitement.
Yeah. I wonder, by the way, and we talked about Pujols going into the Cardinal Hall of Fame and about Stan the Man. And obviously they're iconic players, but between 1941 and 1963 you have Stan, and then 2001 and basically 2011 you had Albert. I wonder if there will ever be another Cardinal that's that good that the Cardinals are able to keep for a decade.
Well, I'm sure they said that after Stan, and then Pujols came around.
Yep.
So I will take the chalk and say yes.
Okay.
Somebody will come along, whether it's in 50 years or whether it's, right now. I'll take it with somebody.
Okay. Hey, people are loving Cardinal Fastball. It's a 1-hour condensed version of the previous day's Cardinal game every day here on Matrix Midwest. And it was interesting during the weekend. I was talking to somebody who said, I missed a game. I think they missed the Thursday night game. Said I didn't want to spend 3 hours watching a replay. But if I can watch for an hour and get the entire game experience, it's great. And I'm hearing that a lot. And if you haven't checked out Fastball yet, it airs at noon and 4 the day after Cardinal games, and you'll be able to get everything that you need from a Cardinal game that day as you go into the next game.
Especially because weekends are busy. Everybody has plans, and you can't sit down and watch every single baseball game. And when you look at the final score that ESPN sends you or The Athletic that says, hey, Cardinals won 3-2, and you say, how did we get here? Well, you might want to go back and watch Michael McGreevy. You might want to go see what went wrong with Riley O'Brien, and you get that in 1 hour.
And some things that you don't see in the scoreboard, like today, you'll see Jordan Walker's fly ball that nearly left the ballpark yesterday, would have been his 11th home run. And those are things that you just don't see in the box score or with your ESPN notifications.
It's the coolest little TV viewing watch in all of sports.
Well, except for us.
Except for the fight, of course. When it's in the 1 hour window, yes, it's always the fight.
By the way, we mentioned early in the show that we had this past weekend Memphis baseball. Saturday, the 9th of May, we've got Corpus Christi at Springfield. The Springfield Cardinals, maybe you'll get to see Liam Doyle. That's at 6:05 this coming Saturday here on Matrix Midwest. We're looking forward to that. And tell your friends you do see the fight with Carricker and Company every day at 5 and 10 p.m. and then re-aired at 7 o'clock the next morning. And we air the fight every Thursday. That is the trivia portion of the program. Sign up to play at matrixmidwest.com or email us at thefight@matrixmidwest.com. And he always comes up with really great questions.
8 weeks in a row right now, Randy.
I'm on a roll. So, send us just an email, thefight@matrixmidwest.com. Say, hey, I want to take on Randy in the fight. And we record it about noon on Wednesdays. Yeah, he wants to see me lose.
I always want to see Randy lose.
Yeah, that's
more fun that way.
It's more fun, yeah. Great job, sir.
And great job by you.
And also a great job by our director, Tyler Klaus. And we're with you every day this week. And don't forget, you get to see us at 5 and 10 every single night. For Andrew and Tyler, I'm Randy. See you next time in the fight. So long.